Hi guys, welcome to Details in Hindsight. I am your host, Maddy Brown, and I'm really excited that you're here because today is the episode that I've been trying to film for a very long time without sounding mean. But this one is actually for the newbies, the soon-to-be military spouse, just became a military spouse, all the things. If you're trying to prep, this is a great episode for you. I'm sorry, vets, this isn't really for you. But I think it's also good to kind of go over basics and things that we may need a refresher on too. So this is actually kind of for everybody. I wish I had this episode when Austin first joined the Air Force. I was very productive in getting to know like his situation and like how BMT worked and how where is he gonna go after BMT? Like I didn't know obviously, but there's a lot of things that come into play of trying to prep your soldier for that stuff and then prepping yourself as well. So by the time he left for BMT, I really didn't know what I signed up for. And I was very like, okay, so what is DEERS? What is Tricare? What is that? Like there's so many little things that I didn't know right away. And you learn so much, I would say in the first month of becoming a military spouse because it's very complicated. Well, I'd be a terrible friend if I didn't start with this one first because when you become a military spouse, it's very common for girls to kind of go on the internet, post what they want to post and not really understand that's actually some of that's no bueno and you shouldn't be posting it for multiple reasons. Obviously, everything is situational. Okay, I have a standard list that I'm going to read off here that ChatGPT has helped me kind of fine tune, but these are kind of the standards that I would stick to. And then if there's little things like, like I don't know your personal situation, and I think some things are okay to post, and I think some things aren't, and it's all personal. But there are basics to it that I am gonna go over, and then I'm gonna kind of go in and be like, well, that's also situational, and here's why, and kind of dive into OPSEC. I should just do OPSEC as its own episode, but hopefully I can kind of get through this without sounding too crazy. So OPSEC. OPSEC is operational security. It is critically important for military families, especially spouses, because even small bits of information shared on the internet or conversations can be pieced together by adversaries. Military spouses play a key role in maintaining the safety and security of service members by following OPSEC guidelines. Now, OPSEC is really, really, really important, and this is where I really try to hone in on ladies especially when they're doing countdowns from deployments. It's really crucial for deployments. It's really one of those things where I saw this one influencer. She did a countdown, but the countdown was off. Like, he was home for like 2 months before she even started the countdown. Like a lot of girls will bank like their content, and so like what you're seeing is not reflecting reality. The biggest thing is like when you're sharing the information that you're sharing, you have to be careful. I would always ask your soldier what is okay, because sometimes there's some gray lines and there's some things that are like, I mean, you could, but should you? And I would always recommend like going to your soldier and be like, hey, I want to post this, but I want to make sure you're okay with it first, because you don't want to get your spouse in trouble, like at all. Like if you break OPSEC, your spouse is immediately in the fire line. So just keep that in mind when you're posting, like, would this affect my spouse's job? It can. So we'll go into it. Number one, do not share any deployment information. And this is huge. Do not post or discuss deployments at all. Deployment dates, return dates, even if there's just soon or next month, unit location, movements or missions, travel routes, timelines, specific base names or countries, if not publicly released. I would say, they gave us some examples of like what to say. What's safe is to be like, yeah, my spouse is away for a while. Unsafe, my husband leaves for Kuwait next Monday. Not safe. So, and the other part you have to remember when you share deployment information, not only are you affecting your spouse, you're expecting that you're ruining the entire troops push date or whatever. And it is not safe for you. It is not safe for the troops. It is not safe for anybody involved with that mission, deployment, whatever it is. Even if it's a TDY, don't share it. And I think there's a lot of girls sometimes that like will do countdowns. Just remember, if they're doing countdowns, they're probably at tech school. That's also kind of like hit or miss. I don't recommend it entirely. And this is where I go back and forth on like posting time, like countdowns, because reality is like there will come a point where, you know, he's been gone for 9 months, he's been gone for 6 months, and like standard deployments are like 6 to 9 months. Sometimes they're longer if they accept an extension, but just be really, really, really careful. Okay. That's just like rule number one. We don't share anything when it comes to a deployment, mission, TDY, you name it. No bueno. They could still be in the States. You don't share it. You don't know what they know, and they are doing their own thing. They could still be going out and doing field work. It doesn't matter what they're doing. You have to keep that to yourself. And that also goes for family. Now, this is where it kind of comes, like, this is kind of where it's situational, where, you know, if a family member is a loudmouth and can't keep it to themselves, and you go into church and you're like, oh, we're so excited, so-and-so is going to be home next week, that's a problem. That's an OPSEC break. I personally, if you don't think they can keep it a secret, I would not share it. I honestly, it's really hard, and I've seen girls on the internet struggle with that the most because they just feel like they're lying to everybody. But if it keeps him safe and his buddies safe, that should be number one priority, period. Okay. Number 3, be careful with photos and videos. Super, super careful, especially with base gates and entries, equipment, vehicle, troops, tapes, ID cards. Do not, we'll go into this, but do not share your ID, or unit, insights, anything that could pinpoint where you guys are and why you guys are there. Immediate no. And I think this is standard, but again, I think there's not a welcome to the military. This is what you don't do, so this is it. Keep personal information private. It is very hard these days on the internet to keep everything private. I understand that completely as I start this podcast. Some people can go the whole military career and be fine with sharing their names and sharing their rank and everything else. This is very situational in my opinion. It's on here, but I've seen plenty of people share everything and they're fine, and then I've seen people share nothing and they're also fine. So I honestly don't post until you get your soldiers okay when it comes to photos, graduations, you name it. Most people don't care on like BMT graduations. That's pretty standard, but you never know. Always, always ask. You never know. You just don't want to get your airman we're Air Force, so you just don't want to get your soldier in trouble. So please, 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 please ask them before you go and post anything. And I'm going to say that a million times, but discuss OPSEC with family. Just make sure that, if you are sharing it with like your kids or your parents or your friends, that if they share that information, I wouldn't tell anybody that you don't trust to not keep it to themselves. So that's just my rule of thumb. I trust my family. I could tell them, and I know they're not going to go all over the internet and post it all over the internet. But I know some of you have very lovely in-laws and would do that anyways. So if they can't keep it to themselves, don't share it with them. It's going to suck, and it's going to make you feel like a bad guy, but it's for your soldier safety. So I think I said that before, but I'll say it a million times. All right. I would say, so OPSEC break would be like, hey, I need a photographer for a return. Troops are deploying, return from deployment on September 14th, and that's an OPSEC break. A different way to approach it is to just reach out to that photographer personally, if you have one in mind, or just like, hey, searching for a photog for a return date. Don't say when, just searching for a photog for a special event on base. No, not even that. I would just honestly reach out to a photographer individually. If you really need recommendations, hey, does anybody have an on-base photographer that they like? Simple, you're getting the info you need, but you're not saying why you need it. You're not saying for what reason. It gets very standard, I would say. So you have to keep it very, very, very bare minimum. Okay. So that is kind of the basics for OPSEC. Keep your soldiers safe. When in doubt, don't share it. If you have like a gut feeling like this might be breaking OPSEC, don't post it. Do not post it unless you have your soldiers' permission, because they're also liable for what you post on the internet, unfortunately. So Just be really careful for that. I would just, again, trust your gut. Oh, the next thing we're going to talk about is DEERS. DEERS is Defense Enrollment Eligibility Reporting System. This is how, as a dependent, you're going to access your benefits from insurance, Tricare, commissary access. You're going to need your military ID. There's a lot of things that you have to do to enroll in DEERS, and like dependent benefits, all that jazz. So to do that, every dependent gets a military ID card. The only way you're going to be able to do that is to get your marriage certificate. You're going to need that. You're going to need your birth certificate, and you're going to need your social security card. A lot of people that elope will just do it right away if they eloped and he's already in service. But my situation, we eloped right before like the day he left, and then I had to get a piece of paper while he was gone at BMT. He had to like send it to me in the mail, like snail mail. I got a letter in the mail with this like certificate stating that he's at BMT, but I need my my card, and so I had to get that, then set an appointment with the local base wherever you're at, and then I had to go in to the visitor center by myself, which was really scary. And then they went and took me to the ID center, turned all my stuff in. That basically confirmed that it is me. And then I took my ID photo. There's a photo, just a heads up. Mine looks great, but a lot of girls don't get a heads up and they get really upset that they didn't know. So there is a photo on your ID card. And so just a heads up, you want to dress up for this appointment if you want to see a nice photo for the remaining time you have this ID. They do expire every certain amount of time. So I think it's like 5 years, 4 years. I don't know. It's kind of like your driver's license where you just have to keep renewing. Moving forward. So your ID, healthcare, all that will kind of be on your ID. Your insurance card is your ID. So your beneficiary number, that's also your insurance number. Everything is so much easier on base when you go and scan and you're good to go. When it is nice, it's nice. So just try to have everything put together. My recommendation when it comes to getting the whole DEER situation is work with your soldier. He's going to have a better direction for your situation because everybody is different. Work with him on that. He's going to know what he's going to need to do to get you on everything. But once you have your appointment set for your ID card, have everything kind of ready to go in a little folder. A lot of girls will do the binders, but I don't recommend the binder until you start PCSing. A little folder of like all your important documents, passports, social security card, and then like birth certificate, so you can have it all in one spot. Marriage license. I think mine is in a binder right now with Austin, but it all needs to be in one spot. So just keep that in mind, and then have like a safe spot to put it. Don't just like leave that out, like hide that. So yeah, your military ID is going to be basically like a driver's license, but for base. You can't get onto base without, I mean, you can get onto base with a sponsor, but you can't do it on your own without that ID. Sorry, I'm really tongue-tied today. You can't access the base without a military ID by yourself, so just make sure you go and get that done pretty much ASAP. Your life is going to be a lot easier that way. Your beneficiary ID is going to be your Tricare number. So that's kind of where we're going to slide into number 3, and that's Tricare. Tricare is super, super tricky, and it's really complicated, but I'm going to give you the basics. You get 2. You get Tricare Prime and Tricare Select. I think there are enrollment periods if you want to switch between the both of them, and I think it only happens like twice a year, so just keep that in mind. Once you pick one, you're kind of stuck with it for a bit, so just a heads up. Tricare Select, you get to pick your doctors outside of base, and you get to pick wherever, but you do have a copay. It's not entirely free. So you have a copay and stuff like that. I think also it doesn't cover certain things. So just read the fine print before you entirely jump into Select. But if you're like me, I have an ear tumor, so like I'm constantly going in and out of the doctor's office, and it'd be easier for me to see a doctor off base. Okay, that might be worth the copay then, if that makes sense. Then we have Tricare Prime. Everything is covered, but it is harder, and this is what I'm working with right now, to get stuff done because you have to do this thing called the referral game. And I will do a whole episode on it, but you can't go see outside doctors unless you have an approved referral from your primary doctor. So once you get onto Tricare, you get assigned a primary doctor, then you get to go see that person, do a physical, and then they can either approve a referral or deny. I'm going to go into that into a Tricare episode and my story with Tricare, so that way, people can learn from my situation. But it can be really tricky at certain bases. Army, I don't know why. You guys have it the hardest. It does not make sense to me on why, but I'm currently in that boat because we are stationed at an Army base and it is tricky. It is very tricky. And I don't understand why it's so hard. So that goes into my next thing is PCSing. You're going to be moving a lot. I would start saving boxes now. And some girls have to move right away to wherever they're stationed. Some girls have to wait until they're done with training. I had to do that. You're going to be moving a lot. So just right now, I would save all your Amazon boxes. That's what I do. I have like a little corner. I had a corner in a little storage closet. And I would just like keep all the new boxes, undo them, and just put them in a little flat pile. So by the time it's time to move, either quickly or in a bit, you'll have some boxes and you're not totally SOL on acquiring those if you do a DIY move. And that brings me into moving, like PCSing in general. I will have a whole episode on that, but there's two types of moves with PCSing. You can do a DIY move, which is like you do it yourself, you run a U-Haul or whatever, or you get TMO. There's a lot of debate with TMO because there's horror stories of people not having their stuff for 2 months, depending on what move, where, how, what, and when. So a lot of people do it themselves, so they have a little more control over it. But after like a certain amount of moves, you just kind of give up. So people use TMO, which is fair. We used TMO recently, and I can get into that in an episode. So there are, perks of both sides, honestly. So it really just is a situation like what fits your family. I'm just here to say this is this and this is that. Best of luck. On that level. But yeah, so that's PCSing. It's gonna be really hard and really difficult. So like I said, if you have all your documents together, keep it together. I have an episode planned out where it's like pre-PCS, like all the things you should do prior to moving. Again, this is just the basics for the newbies. I think. Come here. This is Nova. She's the prettiest princess at the party. She's and this is Oakley. If you can see him down there. They're hungry, so they're telling me to wrap it up for this episode. I guess the last topic I'll talk about, which helped me a ton, is join the group chats on military groups, because you're still learning so much. Even if you're not asking questions, there's probably somebody that's going to be asking it, and you can kind of watch from a distance. And that's what I did on learning a bunch of things, because there's always something you're learning in the military world. And to have like that in the background or used as like a check, you can even like go to like, I think there's like a bunch of pages for like different states, recent like just join pages. Like there's so many military spouse pages that you can join. There's even a giant, I think it's like almost like 200,000 PCSing groups. So like there's so many ways you can do this. I highly recommend joining like your local base group chat. There's a bunch, and when you get to a new base, there's like kind of like an introduction of like, kind of, I didn't get this, but there's kind of like a meet and greet meeting sometimes, and you get to meet people that are also like spouses from your troop or whatnot. I think that's more common with the Army. I didn't get it as Air Force, but yeah, but join the spouse pages when you first join, because you can learn a lot from the distance. You don't have to ask the questions, and sometimes somebody has already asked it, so you can search it in the like little search bar for that base, or like, oh, what church would be great to go to? That would be a great way to find out, because I would just go to my group chat, or not. Literally, I would just go to the Facebook page, and then I would like search in their little search bar, like, hey, churches, and like someone's already asked that question like 2 weeks ago, and then I can kind of go in there and take a look at like options people recommended. That's a really good way to find places too, especially when you get to a new base. So just know it's really hard to like kind of jump in, and it's a lot of information at once, but that's kind of the basics. I think are a good place to start. But yeah, join a group page, join and see like what's going on around your base, even just like one that you're like close by to right now, if you're not like at your current station that you're supposed to be. just kind of get a feel for the area. A lot of people will post things all the time. So, and it's very entertaining if you need free content for sure, just to kind of keep yourself entertained. I hope that helps with just the basics, or if you're about to get married, congratulations. I hope you guys belong and happy marriage. And I hope this helps. And I hope this helps with the basics and whatnot. All right, I'm going to pray this out and we'll go. All right, dear Lord, thank you for this day. Lord, I'm just praying for all these newbies that are either watching this podcast or are about to become a military spouse and they just want to be in the know. Lord, I just hope this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. Lord, I just know that there will be more episodes coming that have more in-depth detail and information, but hopefully this is a good starting point for them. Lord, I just ask that as you're putting them through the season of transition, that you just keep them. I just hope they're continuing to stay in a place of wanting to learn and not get overwhelmed with all the information. Lord, I just pray that you just give them peace as they transition into this new journey. And it's a very fun one. So, yeah, in your name, amen. All right, guys, I will see you at the next episode. Don't forget to follow. Hopefully this was helpful, and there will be a part 2 to this as well. But share with a friend. If you're watching on a Spotify or whatever you watch your podcast on, please give us a 5-star review and give us a thumbs up. Do all the things. It helps me, reach other people in the algorithm and continue to improve. So, well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time.